I'm Ash O'Rourke, by the way. That over there, that's Karissa Harlow.
Hello.
And we are obviously the hosts of this new podcast. Karissa, do you want to tell everybody what this podcast is about?
Basically, it's about writing. And I mean, it's about how to write. And well, yes, friendship, obviously, primary goal. Also about how to write and how much we love writing.
And also the things that we hate about writing. Listen, that's going to be really, really ranty. Why are you doing this to me, Flora? Did you see the cat disappear into the clothes?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Or rather, I didn't see her because she disappeared into the clothes.
Ugh, accurate. God.
So this is about all the things that we love and hate about writing and publishing and all the things in between.
You will get to go on this journey with us, whether you want to or not. Actually, it's really whether you want to. We can't force you to listen, but we certainly hope that you do.
I can force Ash to listen, but we can't force you to listen.
No, she could definitely force me to listen, though. All she has to do is wink at me. She's a powerful wink.
It's because it's so rare.
It is because it's so rare. Whereas I give out winks like candy.
It's true.
Did you hear the ding, the metallic ding of my cat just now on the clothing rack?
Flora.
We're professionals.
Obviously.
By we, I mean Flora.
We're really just her hype guys. We really are. We're here for Flora.
Actually her pod. You know what? The same thing happened with, oh, by the way, if you guys are visitors from that Pretentious book club, that is another podcast that I co-host with Kendall Shaw. It's all about books. So if you like writing and you like reading books, go check it out. And I'm going to give the same kind of shout out on TPBC, that Pretentious book club. But that's funny that immediately somehow Flora claimed ownership over this podcast because she did the same thing to TPBC. We all work for Flora.
Yeah, it's just a power move.
It's just a power move. God. So every week we'll be discussing something that we love or hate, and obviously writing themed, but also keeping you guys up to date on our own writing endeavors. And we would love to hear about y'all's too. So find us on social media whenever you get the chance. You can join our Patreon. The goal, I'm thinking, you can tell me what you think about this, Karissa. I feel like our Patreon goal should be like to build the ultimate writers group.
I love it. That's absolutely what I want.
Like,
I want to be a part of that.
I know, same. Writers groups are hard. I don't love an in-person writers group because aren't we all introverted by nature? Isn't that why we're writers?
It's not great form.
No, but all these writing groups are in person. So I'm thinking maybe our Patreon is just a dedicated writers group for people who don't want to go to an in-person writing group.
For all of you introverts.
Extroverts are welcome too, but listen, you also have a thing that exists.
You have everything. Extroverts get everything. Introverts need something.
It's true.
The world is designed to function for you. Yeah. Let us have this one thing.
Let us have this thing. But everybody's welcome in our Patreon, and that is also the Scripturient Society. If I mess up and call something that Pretentious book club,
I will catch you, hopefully.
Please do. Can you just like smack me through the camera?
Yes.
Yeah. Karissa, where are you recording from? Also, this is remote, you guys. So surprise.
I am. I was about to say from my bedroom, but now I realize that's not what you meant.
No, that helps for the people who aren't getting to watch our beautiful faces on YouTube. You can watch our beautiful faces on YouTube, everyone.
I am in Arizona, specifically Tucson, Arizona, which is southern Arizona. How many times can I say Arizona in a sentence?
Say it one more time. Arizona. There it is. I love it.
And Ash, where are you?
In my closet.
See, that's what matters.
Yeah. Just south of Austin, recording from my closet with it is mid-September, not even officially fall yet, but I did put candles and leaf decorations in my closet, and I am recording with the lights off because I don't care. This is the vibe I wanted for myself today.
It's a pretty intense vibe. It's very spooky. It's very witchy. I like it.
Thank you. I was gonna have long dark nails too, like matches our logo, and that's more my thing. But as I told Karissa before we started recording, somehow I ended up doing these like baby duckling soft yellow nails, and they're all round, which also isn't my thing. And
I have like the teenager colored bedroom behind me, but my nails are like daggers right now.
It's true. It's
so
very true.
I don't know if you can see them if you guys are looking, but they are super sharp.
They are super sharp. I want to also point out to anybody watching, listen, I will claim that Marvel suitcase. That's mine. All of these clothes are my husband's. I have got a little space over on that side of the closet that's my stuff. And he has more. These are his t-shirts primarily. He has like 2 more drawers and more stuff out there. I've never met a man with so many t-shirts in my life. And every time like he goes somewhere without me, he calls me. He's like, "Oh my God, babe, guess what?" And I'm like, "What?" And he's like, "I just found the most like choice t-shirts." He's a surfer. And you're like, "Please stop. Please stop this.
Please stop. We have no more space. You're killing us."
Yeah. He started recently like doing like surfer slang, but in like the most proper like voice just to get to people. Like instead of being like, "Cha, dude," he's like, "Cha, my brother." And you're like, "Oh no." I think the next time we go back to his hometown, I'm gonna have to be like, "I'll pay you $20 to walk into the surf shop."
Yes, and say it like that.
Like that.
That's so funny. I went to visit Ash a few months ago. Was it that long ago?
Oh, was it really?
Yeah, I think
Come
so.
back to me.
Right. And while we were there, we went out to dinner and my parents were there. And Javi said something about how this food smacks.
Oh my God.
And my dad had never heard that phrase before. So now he uses it all the time. He's like, "What does it mean?" I'm like, it means it's really good." He's like,
"Does he really?
Where does that come from?" I was like, "I don't know."
A hoot and a half. That is so funny.
And I'm caught between, is it because it's like lip smacking good, or is it like smacking like when something's good, you pat your knees or something?
I heard, you know what? Literally there, I think I was there. I was present for a debate on exactly that question.
Really?
Yes, because we went to the Oasis where we took you. We went there once with Javi and some of his army friends, and I literally had this exact conversation where I was like, "Why do you guys keep saying this food smacks? Can't you just say it's good?" And one of them was all, "This cuisine is delectable." And I was like, "Yeah, that's what I'm saying." Because those are your only choices. You have to be like, "This shit fucking smacks, bruh," or you have to be like, "This cuisine is delectable." And there's no in between.
No.
And so, but yeah, I remember them debating that too. One of them said, yeah, because like lip smacking good. And the other one said like you slap your leg when it's really good. So I don't know. Listeners, if you guys know the origin of that phrase, we would be, as writers and as human beings.
I love looking up the origins of certain phrases and stuff like that. It's
Speaking of, that brings us to the first segment of our episode, our word of the week.
What's our
word of the week, Karissa?
This is like my baby. First of all, I want to lead into this by letting you guys know that I have a stack of like 200 flashcards that I made, not even for the podcast. I had these.
Hang on, you made these?
I did. I made them. I don't have the one for this week out because I know this one, so I don't need the card. Oh my
God. I didn't know you made this. You were like, "Yeah, I've got some flashcards." I was like, "Oh, cool. I bet somebody gave her like a writery gift." No, you made this?
I bought index cards. And one day I was sitting here and just thought to myself, you know what I should do? I should look up a bunch of underused words in English, make flashcards, and learn them. So I did. And then like 2 weeks later, you were like, "Hey, we should start a podcast." I'm like, "Gosh, I already have." It's like my brain was already planning for it. Like we were on the same wavelength.
That's hilarious. Oh, and you came to visit was when this idea was conceived in me, our child together. I was like, I know this needs to happen, but then I just kept thinking about it and I was like, I don't want to like spring it. I don't want to scare her, you know?
You want to scare me away.
Yeah. Scare her away. And so I was like, if we mutually conceived this idea, I'm going to let it germinate for a little while. And then I was like, "Hey, so podcast, right?" And you were like, "Yeah, podcast." And I was like, "Right, podcast."
You're like, I have to make her think it's her idea.
Yeah. Honestly, though, I was like, is she going to be into this? And then with that Pretentious book club with Kendall, I was like, "So Kendall, I feel like I'm cheating on you a little bit, but I'm also starting another podcast."
I had that moment too. You're like, "We should start a podcast." And in my heart, I said,
like, "Am I the
mistress?
This
is perfect. I know this is perfect. But Kendall, what will she think? I can't betray her."
It's not a betrayal. I love both of you, and I love writing and I love reading. And in TPBC, that is a long episode. Those are some long form episodes. So there's really no room to talk about writing. So I just felt like something was missing from my world.
I mean, always.
It was actually Karissa that was missing from
obviously who cares about writing? It's all about me.
I was like, what can I do to get her in like alone in a room with me remotely, where I can gaze upon her beautiful face at least once a week? Podcast.
Here I am.
The cat is digging her claws into my fancy cowboy boots, my only truly nice pair of shoes. Nice. This is the other cat, Yennefer. You guys will hear
She's my favorite
about her. She's easy. She's an easy favorite because all she wants is love.
Yes, she loves me.
Yeah. Do you love Karissa? So our word of the week.
Yes, our word of the week is scripturient. I wonder why. I figured we should define it for you guys in case you did not know.
Yeah.
So scripturient means, quote unquote, characterized by a strong obsessive urge to write. So that makes sense given that this is a writing podcast.
So literally like see Karissa, because
yes, see Karissa. It's okay. So if you look up this word, the first thing that will come up is that it is an obsolete word. And I'm like,
what?
Who the heck put this on the back burner? I was like, who decided, guys, we don't need this word anymore. We absolutely need this word. I want to work this into the world's vocabulary. So
I was like, hey, what should we call our podcast? And she's like, I have the best idea ever. And I was like, yeah, we'll see. And I was like, that is the best idea ever.
I kind of put it out there with several other ideas. And secretly, I was like, I want her to pick this one.
You could have just been like, we're doing this one. I'd have been like, all right. Because it was
Sounds
also
good.
the best.
Yeah. It's so good.
So a person obsessed with writing. Listen, I've been a writer since I was a child, stayed up many a late night to write. Now I'm not good at staying up late, but Karissa is. And although I used to think like I'm the most writer person in the world, then in college, I found and essentially, I want to say, kidnapped / brainwashed Karissa into our friend group and discovered, no, she's the most writer in the whole world.
Thank you. I will take it. I will take the whole kidnapping thing and the writer person.
Cool. Excellent.
So real fast.
My
goal, I have 3 goals with this podcast and I just want to put them out there.
Very organized, you guys.
I am. So my first goal is that I really, really just want to talk about writing all the time. And aside from you and like a few people I knew in college that were in our classes, I don't have any writer friends. I barely have any reader friends. And
that's so hard.
I know. I just have all of these things I want to say all the time and no one to tell them to. Sometimes I'll kind of go on for like 30, 45 seconds with normal people and I can tell they're bored and they want to get out of this.
Yeah, your Snapchats to me are like 30 minutes long and I'm all about it.
So I try to tone it down, but I have so much to say. So I'm just really excited to be able to talk about this. The second reason.
Objective number 1.
Yes, objective number 1. Objective number 2 is I want to see you, Ash. Aww. Lovely Ash. Partially because I love you and partially because the only people I ever see now are relatives. And
wow.
The only people I talk to are like God and other books. And it would
God,
nice to talk to an equal every once in a while. You know what I mean?
Hardcore same. I see my husband, Kendall, and my mom because I work from home and that's it. That's hilarious.
So it's just nice to see a person that I don't share blood with and who is, a friend as opposed to anything else. So anyway,
as opposed to all the enemies that I run into when I leave my home.
Exactly. As opposed to all of those people out in the world.
Yeah, gross.
So that's objective 2. Objective 3 is that I want to be more conscious and stop using the word like so much. Is that a silly goal?
No, because listen, I'm the one
I've already used it several times.
Yeah, see, I'm the editor for TPPC and for TSS, the Scripturient Society.
Woo-woo.
So I am so aware now of how much I say like, and yet I continue to do it.
Yeah.
To be fair, I say and a lot less than I used to, and I'm way better at not having like long random pauses, but I still say like all the freaking time.
And the problem with like is it is a word on its own. You use it in similes. You use it to describe like I like wicker chairs. I just did it.
This is like that. See, this is the problem I have, especially I've noticed editing the TPPC episodes, is I will say a sentence followed by another sentence that both have the word like in it used legitimately.
Right.
And in between, I will bridge them with like for no reason at all.
And it's so repetitive. And it's so hard to stop because you get so into the habit.
Yep.
And words like or they're not words on their own. So they don't register as much as a problem.
It's true.
So I just want to become more conscious of it. And I will certainly fail, but I want to try.
You'll do good. These are your 3. You came in here with very clear-cut objectives.
I did.
I was here are my objectives. I am secretly planning to make Karissa fall in love with me. That's been the goal since day one, since I stalked her kind of in college. And No, that's the only goal. I'm just kidding.
That's it.
No,
that's all that matters.
For real, I think my goals with this are I do want to build a writing community. I think that would be great. It's hard because I'm not I've never been a writer to show my work to people or even to interact with other writers except for Karissa.
Yes.
And Kendall. And that's literally
that was mostly by chance that we just happened upon each other.
Yeah, we met in a math class, everybody. Yeah. So you know what? Math isn't always useless. Sometimes it brings you writer friends.
Yes. Yeah. When someone says to you or you say to someone that math is useless, just remind yourself that sometimes you can meet cool people in math classes and bond.
What? You have to be proactive. I was proactive. This is how we met. Here, I'll get more.
Tell the story.
So for future reference, everybody listening can understand how this beautiful friendship came to be. Me and my friend Marianne were in math class together, and Karissa sat at the table ahead of us. We had no idea who she was. This is the special math class. This is the math class for art majors because they know we can't pass the normal math class.
Pretty much.
I still struggled. So, but I did draw a picture of a reindeer goat for our teacher for Christmas, and I want to say he liked it. I think it might have helped my grade a little bit. I don't know.
Was it a bribe? I don't know. Did
tell me.
Work as a bribe?
If I gave you a reindeer goat drawing, I'm also not a good artist, so that you do keep that in mind. But
it makes it better.
Does it make it better? See, yeah. I think I'd be like A+ for the rest of the year. Thanks, random student. So that was a sidetrack. Anyways, so Karissa sat in front of us, and there was this random dude who sat a chair down from her.
I didn't want to sit next to him because I didn't want him to think I liked him.
Yeah.
Because I'm in middle school still.
I still do it too, though. If there's space, you put as much space between you and another person in the room as possible. These new COVID era 6-foot rules, I was like, oh, I've been doing that for my entire life. I just thought that was courteous.
Yeah. Is that not how everyone else functions?
I guess not. I don't know. So anyways, I genuinely don't know where it started, but Marianne and I were like, you know what? I think that Karissa and that boy, and we didn't even know your name at the time. We were like, that blonde girl and that boy are in love. They're going to fall in love and have babies. We just know it. And at some point took a picture of them from behind and then drew a heart around it on our phone and had this going for a while. And I have no idea why. We weren't making fun. We weren't haha, this is so funny. We were just genuinely invested in this totally made up love story. And then one day, Jeff, that's his name, I think. Hi, Jeff, if you're out there, this is you. I would be
This is about you.
This is about you. I'd be so thrilled if he one day was hang on.
What?
The amount of times that we've talked about this guy. And I don't even know if I ever spoke to him directly.
I don't think so.
Anyways, one day he wasn't there, so you didn't have a partner. And I was like, hey, you with the blonde hair, do you want to be in our group? And then, which is also not like me. It was just God was like, this is your new best friend.
I know. And I was like, oh, thank goodness. I hate being the one without a partner. So I was like, yes, I don't care if you're a serial killer. I will be in your group.
Yeah. And then I don't think we showed you the picture that we made of you and Jeff with the heart right away. I think we eased you into it by a couple classes. But then we were like, hey, we made this. And then I was like, hey, do you want to move in with us? And somehow you did.
Later. Although we did also happen to just live in the same dorm.
We did.
Also.
Yeah.
And so there were a couple times when I was walking to class and I would be on one side of the street and you and Marianne were on the other.
Oh,
and
really?
I would look over at you and I'm like, I should join them. No, don't be weird. Just stay on track.
Don't be weird, as we are the ones secretly photographing you.
I didn't know that at the time. And I also remember, and I don't remember if this was once we were friends or if this was one of your moves, but I was walking on the other side of the street and you and Marianne saw me and you made your pterodactyl noise. Do you remember that? I kind of looked around and I said, oh, look, it's those people. And then I crossed the street and joined you. And then we walked to class from that point on.
Did I do that on purpose? I
don't know.
I used to do it all the time. There's a very good chance I did that on purpose.
Yep.
Because I am too introverted to be like, hey, come walk with us. That's too friendly for me. But I can see myself doing something you know what? I have a great pterodactyl sound. It's really, really loud. It's going to watch. I bet she'll look over. And then I'm sure that's exactly what
it worked. It's like your siren song.
Oh
you pulled me in.
That's my siren song. Oh, that's so upsetting.
Is that how you seduced Tavi? Did you pterodactyl noise him?
Screeched. Oh, I 100% did. Yeah, actually. Yeah.
That makes sense. I get it now.
Yeah, it's true. Man, how did I? No, what I said was, Whataburger is my favorite food in the world. And he said, you are the one. And that is actually, that's
true love.
That is a direct quote from our second date. So, and then we tried to have Whataburger cater our wedding, and then COVID, everything changed. But
were they going to do it otherwise?
They wouldn't cater, but we literally had a plan. We were like, okay, there's 3 Whataburger locations within driving distance. And we had 3 people set. And we're like, you're going to go and you're going to go drive.
Scatter. And come
Scatter.
back.
You're going to grab as much food as they'll let you buy and bring it back. And it was going to be amazing. But then you guys cannot be fighting right now. The cats are fighting. One in the closet and one out of the closet.
Gosh, at least be in the same location.
Yeah, for real. So what are you doing with your life nowadays since college?
Nothing. Just kidding.
Nothing. You made it sound like so much fun.
Right? I mean, I've had many adventures. I worked briefly at Barnes and Noble, and then I didn't work for a while because I was kind of lost, and then I worked at high school, and then I got laid off. Yeah.
But where did you, so you worked in the library?
I did. I worked in the library. So I was never a teacher. Yes. And it was pretty great. And it was a high school library. So I got to know some of the kids, and I write. So we should probably say we both really like to write young adult fantasy. Well, at least young adult, and then kind of in the speculative fiction realm. Yeah. So it was really cool. Yeah. It was really cool to get to know the kids and see what they were reading. Oh, I bet. And talk to them about that.
I think that's why I'm kind of writing new adult now, is because I don't have an in with the kids. Like, I really don't. And
what are the kids into these days?
I don't know. I watched the TikTok and I'm like, is this what the kids think is funny? I don't know.
Right.
Are they being ironic? Are they being serious? I can't tell anymore.
Right.
I literally had this conversation with my husband today because, he's starting a new security job, and like, you have to know Hobby, my husband, like, to be like, oh, of course that's what happened to him. But they were like, where should we assign him? I know, the sorority houses. So anyways, he was like, but he's like, what? Like, he's going to be 31, I think, this month. So,
wow.
But he is so much more hip with the kids than me. Like, today he was like pretending to be like he didn't know what was trendy. And he's like, I'm going to have to ask those sorority girls, whatever, actually, all jokes aside, he's going to be really great because he's like totally like not creepy and totally responsible. And they basically they vetted all of their like employees to pick who would be like safe enough to like, and respectful and comfortable enough for
he
the
seems
girls.
Like the right choice.
Yeah, I'm so proud. Yeah. I'm like, yeah, he is the right choice. So I'm glad. But anyways, so he was like pretending he didn't know like what was hip with the kids. And I was like, you can't do that because with you, it's a joke. And when I do it, I'm not joking. Like and I'm younger than him. And I've always been that way. I've never known what's hip. And now I really don't. And now like TikTok is not user friendly, you guys. It's really hard.
Hopefully I can tell this story really fast. So when I first heard about TikTok, I was working at the high school, and my coworker, the librarian, she came up to me and said, so TikTok. And in my head, I said, yes, TikTok, the Kesha song. And I nodded and said, yeah, of course. And so she kept talking. And about like, 2 to 3 sentences in, I was like, I don't know what we're talking about, but I have to pretend now because I said I did. And
you cannot be alone. This has got to happen to other people too,
especially people our age, because that song was big,
and that's what
still
TikTok
the same.
Is. Yeah. Oh God, that's confusing.
Through context, I eventually figured out what TikTok was, and I thought, this is stupid. Who does this?
Oh my God!
And then about a year later, all the reels started showing up on Instagram. And I was like, you were like, all right, this is kind of cool. Yeah. And now I'm on the TikTok for this podcast, and I love it.
Yeah. You were like, I've been doing the TikTok for TPBC for a while, and it's really hard. It does not come naturally to me at all. So Karissa was like, well, what can I do? And I'm like, you are very welcome to try and take over the TikTok. I am fine with that. And then like, I get a text like, this is so frustrating. It's so hard to use. And then like, 6 TikToks pop up in one day, and they are all like totally professional grade. And I was like, what the hell? Mine did not look like that. Like 6 in a day, bananas.
No, I have like 24 drafts saved because I went all out. I'm so excited about them. And part of me thinks these are too niche. No one's going to like these. And the other part says, these are hilarious. I'm going to become famous.
You know what? Post them all anyways, because if I've learned anything over the, oh God, what, like 8-ish months I've been podcasting and doing the social media, I have no idea what people like and why they like it. Like I did one thing for our TikTok. Like, I did 2 things. I thought it was gonna be really niche. I was like writing female characters, and like I thought that was gonna be like really niche. I just like wanted to put my face on our TikTok, and I was like, hey, it's relevant, it's not gonna get any likes. And everyone was like, oh my God, we love this. And I was like, why?
Why?
The other ones
it's
are
so relatable.
But then other stuff, and whatever, like we'll put the same TikTok on Instagram and it doesn't perform well at all. So I don't know. I don't understand any of it. I say post it all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so because I worked in the library, I feel like I have a certain grasp on what's popular, and I don't think it's actually really changed that much. I think people like what they like, and you just do it in a new and original way. Yeah. If I can get on my soapbox for like half a second. Oh my God. And I think
on that soapbox.
I know. I just think if you try to write for kids, they will hate it because they will see that that's what you're doing.
Yep.
But if you write for what you like and what you want, they're going to see that sincerity in it and really enjoy it.
Strongly agree. There's nothing that kids hate more than feeling like they're being talked to like a kid.
Exactly. Yeah. And I hated that too. And I think about the books that I loved when I was in middle and high school, and they were the books that didn't condescend. So.
It's true. It's true. And I think you can be like a little more brutal with kids books and young adult books than like as an adult. I'm like, oh, there can't be like death and killing. And then I'm like, hang on, there was death and killing in the books I read. Like they weren't like super like gory, but there was definitely like actual like adult level of maturity content, which is
definitely
how we mature, so we should be showing it to kids. And anyways, I think you make a very good point.
Thank you. Okay, so Ash, what are you up to since graduation?
Everything.
The opposite answer.
I have a very hard time sitting still. I'm at the point where I can't seem to like sit still and relax, and I know this is like a part of the problem is like I am like obsessively productive, or I get really anxious. So I know that's not good, but I have turned it into some more like fun avenues for me, which is I copyright for my living at the moment. And then I've got TPBC, which is, just so much fun. And then now the Scripturient Society, which is also so much fun. And
so far,
I mean, we've just been
doing 30 minutes.
I know, but we've been planning for a few weeks, and I'm just like so excited about it all the time. So yeah, I'm really happy because I did finally, like, I fell in love with podcasting when I started. I know it was only 8 months ago, but it's one of the things that doesn't feel draining, like mentally to do, which is nice because all of my other pursuits are so intellectual that like it's just really easy to get drained. And when you write for a living, and this is like business writing, this isn't like super fun writing. And I'm really grateful for my job. I like it and all, but it can be really hard to like find hobbies in the realm of things you really want to do and want to make a career out of that aren't totally draining. And for me, podcasting is like that. And also like, and fully because of the fact that I'm doing it with Karissa and then with TPBC with Kendall, with like 2 of my best friends in the whole world. So it's really just for me getting to like sit down and chat with a bestie like twice a week. So, I mean, and I like the editing stuff too, but really, honestly, the podcasting has given so much more back to me, like so soon, just like love and support and gratification, and then seeing when listeners like they connect and they had a good time. It's just been so uplifting so far. So that's what I'm really focusing my time on. I am working on a new book finally. Actually, I think Kendall and I are both trying to self-publish one right now, which I'm sure we'll get into in a lot of our episodes about self-publishing versus traditional publishing. I think there's a good combo of the two. So I'm sure I'll have more updates for you guys on that front too, but I'm writing a brand new one right now that I think will do better for traditional publishing, and cool. I'm excited about it. Yeah.
Yay. I can't wait.
Yeah.
So I guess I feel like I should also add, I also write. When I said I did nothing, what I really meant was that I don't have a stable career. I write constantly. It's all I do. Yeah.
And how many books
parents will be like, what did you do today? Read?
Yeah.
Wrote. No. Wait, read or wrote?
Both.
Both. I don't know that I write a book a year. So my writing has been essentially the same since I was 13. I've been working on the same series, and there are 9 books.
Yeah.
So, and they're all written. I'm still
Uh-huh.
working on editing them. I think the first one is
9
ready.
books. Yeah.
Yes. So that's what I work on. So I guess 9 a year because it's just the same 9 over and over.
Yeah.
Reading, I actually, yay, fun fact, I reached 100 books last week for the year.
Oh my God. What month is it? September?
September. And
I have a podcast about books and you still read way more books than me.
Yes. Ash, all I do is read and write.
I don't
Literally all I do.
I don't know how you do it. This is the thing. Like, I thought like I am the book lover. I am like the writing fiend. And then I met you and I'm like, I am nothing. I'm like a kindergartner.
I have put all of my eggs in this basket, essentially. So I have to commit. I'm fully committed. There is no backup plan. So
you know what?
It is this or death.
Now too. I am finally at that point too. And it's, while terrifying, it's also very freeing. Because I feel like I'm not spreading myself so thin trying to make it in other things I'm not passionate about, that while it is scary, at least it's, I don't know, it's a good kind of risk. It's like the kind
it feels worth it.
Yeah, it feels worth it. Yeah, exactly. I feel that.
So, yep.
Yeah. So that's a little bit about us. That's how we met. That's what we're doing these days. Yeah. And we'll chat and give you guys updates every week because it's fun. It makes it feel like we're all in the room together. Yeah.
We will create a writing community for Ash.
Yeah. Speaking of, just for me.
Just for Ash. We're all here for her.
Really, all of the podcast, the writing, it's all just an endeavor to create my own kingdom. I am deeply narcissistic and I believe I should rule over everything writing and reading related.
That's true.
Here's
the thing, Ash.
What?
Here's the thing. I would never want to take over the world, but I would help someone do it.
You would be like,
I will be your backup.
You'd be a straight up like Rasputin level sidekick.
Yep.
Like you're like, I'm actually in charge, but nobody knows that you're the puppet master.
On the podcast, you keep talking about how you have main character energy. I have main side character energy. Yeah.
You do.
Yep.
Wow.
I'm secretly in charge.
Yeah, you guys will learn quickly. Karissa is kind of deeply maniacal and secretly in charge of everything. And I have main character syndrome. I'm like, I'm the main character in all of these books that's not true. I am trying to get out of it because there are some main characters that I'm like, I don't relate to you. But I do have a tendency to more often than not be like, yeah, I relate to that main character, and I'll find XYZ ways, like really weird, random niche ways to be like, see, it's true. I proved it.
I also like cats. Therefore, we are the same.
We're the same person. Yeah, exactly. So speaking of books, do you have any book recommendations for our listeners this week?
Book recommendations. Let's see. So once I hit 100 books, I kind of stopped reading. So I didn't read any this week. I mean, I'm still planning to read more this year because I can't go 3, 4, 5 months. What month is it? Without books.
We have no concept of time. Multiple times we've been like, what month is it?
What day is it? What year is it? So I did recently read though The Brothers Karamazov. If anyone has read that, it's by Dostoevsky. And it is super, super long. I think it might be the longest book I've ever read. And
oh my God,
it's not really a novel. A Goodreads commenter said that it was a treatise on morality in book form. So if you like that sort of thing, I think that's the book for you.
That sounds really hard.
I know. I do think Crime and Punishment was better. I also think it's interesting that Dostoevsky named apparently his most deplorable character after himself.
Ha! That's interesting.
I know.
It's
I'm like, are you trying to say something?
Always writes the most perfect characters. She always names them Jane.
It's the opposite energy, but it's almost the same
thing. That's funny.
So if you like that sort of thing, I enjoyed it, but I like that sort of thing. So probably not Ash material, but
no, it's not. We tried to read. So we did Don Quixote for that Pretentious book club this week. Let me tell you, we did the abridged version. I tried to do the whole version. It's a comedy, but it is so long. I just couldn't do it. Never in my life. I mean, I do have a hard time with classic literature, and especially like lengthy classic literature. It's just not my thing. It is harder for me. But never in my life have I been like, I physically can't do it. I restarted the audiobook like 6 times. I kept going back and reading the same page over and over. I don't know if it was just my brain space for the week or what, but I couldn't do it. However, it is really funny. So I do recommend reading the abridged or listening to the audiobook. It's very short. And
Yeah.
then we're doing My Lovely Wife for this next episode. So I don't know if any of y'all have read that, but
What
I'm
genre
about
is
to.
that?
I think it's suspense.
Okay.
I think it looks like
Great.
maybe it's like crime suspense, but I haven't started it yet. So that's not necessarily a book recommendation because I haven't read it yet, but I'm about to.
Just an update.
I'll give you guys an update next time.
I do have another one that I want to talk about, but it kind of goes with our subject. So I'm going to save it for when we start talking about
All right, sounds good.
our discussion of the week /
Yeah.
episode.
Speaking of, what's the theme of this episode? What's our topic this episode?
I wanted to go super meta. So we are using our first episode to talk about first chapters and how to write a good first chapter. So we each picked out
the hardest part of the freaking book.
We each picked out some books with some good opening chapters. And so we're going to kind of talk about those and then talk about our experiences with writing opening chapters.
I can hear like all of the writer listeners like groaning right now.
Yeah. We're going to try and make it fun because it is important.
It is.
So what books do you have? Do you want to start with that?
Yes. I have them all here. Ingo, excellent. Let me read to you the first line. So this is one of my favorite books. It's not very well known. Helen Dunmore, though, she passed away a few years ago. Heartbreaking, but award-winning author, amazing author. This is a book about mermaids. I love mermaids. The opening line of this one: "You'll find the Mermaid of Zennor inside Zennor Church if you know where to look." I think this is great because automatically it draws you in and makes you feel like you're a part of something exclusive. I think making somebody feel like they're a part of something exclusive and they're in on a secret right away. Yeah. Excellent way to start a chapter.
Agree.
Let's see. I picked up 6 of Crows and I didn't even like reread the first chapter. I was just like,
this must be good.
Yeah. See, this one's comedic. Juiced had 2 problems, the moon and his mustache. So
comedy can work as an opening. Yes.
Comedy can work. Actually, comedy is one of my favorite openings. Like, hence why I'm pretty sure The Lightning Thief has a funny one. It's not funny, but it's kind of starts in media res, kind of.
Yeah.
It says, "Look, I didn't want to be a half-blood." That's Percy Jackson and Lightning Thief.
Yep. Again, that was one of my picks too.
Yeah, it's right because it's
a really memorable one.
Yeah, you're in on a secret. It's kind of snarky and sarcastic right away. So you already from the very first line, you know what kind of narration you're gonna get.
Yes.
Clockwork Angel, Cassandra Clare. So I think with this one, it is technically a prologue and not the first chapter, but this one really starts in media res. The demon exploded in a shower of ichor and guts.
Nice.
I like it. Start with a bang. I'm a big fan of that. But also prologues are tricky. I feel like it's hard to write a prologue that offers more than it takes away from the pacing. So,
I agree.
Clockwork Angel did great. Leigh Bardugo in the Shadow and Bone book series, that trilogy, also excellent use of prologues. If you're like, prologues are hard, maybe I just whacked my microphone. Maybe go read those because she's a master at them. But prologues are tricky. You gotta be fast paced.
I wouldn't start there.
Yeah, wouldn't start there. Yeah. And my last one, to go to Pride and Prejudice, one of my all-time favorites, starts with a bit of wisdom, does it not? I should have it memorized, but I'm afraid I'm gonna butcher it like on mic because that's what I would do. Oh, my copy is so long. Just to
it's all the introduction. Yeah,
it is. So this one starts. "It is a truth universally acknowledged that a single man in possession of a good fortune must be in want of a wife." So you could start with a bit of cheeky worldly wisdom or worldly wisdom no one's heard before. That's a good way to start. Those are just opening lines, which is only one tiny, tiny part of the whole first chapter. But I think all of these books have good first chapters, and it's so hard to nail, and they all are good for totally different reasons.
Exactly. I like that you did the first line thing because I picked books that aren't necessarily on the first line. So hopefully that'll be a good variety. So
excellent.
The first one is, and I only have 2 here. I can name drop some others, but I have 2 here. So the first one is Strange the Dreamer. And I really, really love this book. Have you read this?
No, I've never even heard of it.
You would love it. So this also has a prologue, but specifically the first chapter, it's not, so the first line is, "Names may be lost or forgotten." And I think that's a good opening line. But
it's a bit of that worldly wisdom.
Yeah. And so the main character of this, his name is Laszlo. And the first chapter is kind of like his biography, but it's done in such a dreamy, kind of ethereal way that it kind of draws you in. and it's very short, and it just kind of gives you, let's see, oh, maybe it's not short. Not as short as I thought it was. It's like 10 pages, but it
what
just
do you
kind
think
of
like lengthwise on first chapter? Do you think a longer or shorter, like as like a generality?
I think consistency. So however long your normal chapters are, that's what your first chapter should be.
Interesting.
And that's kind of my general idea about first chapters, is that sometimes they'll write really strong first chapters and then they completely change the style.
Yeah,
I feel like you've been tricked.
Yep.
So
Serpent and Dove by Shelby Mahurin. I actually love that book. And it feels like the first like 2 or 3 chapters feel like it's setting you up for a totally different story than the one you get. And I actually really love that book. So this is not a rag on the book at all. I really like that one. But it's weird because the first couple chapters feel like they're setting you up for something different than what you suddenly get.
Yes.
And I agree. You want narrative consistency so people know exactly what kind of narration to expect from the start. And also like genre consistency.
Yes. Like I think Percy Jackson is a really good example of that. That first chapter is what you get for the whole series. It's so strong.
You from the very first line, you're like, I know exactly what to expect from this book.
Exactly. It stays the same. And it's
going to be perfect. Cheeky narration about half-bloods.
Exactly. You know what you're getting into.
Yeah.
Okay. And then the second one, this is I guess it's a book recommendation. I have a love-hate relationship with this book. It's
so true.
Nevernight.
So many books for you.
I know. This is Nevernight by J. Kristoff. This is the one with a female Ash.
One
of the characters is Ash. And not
I'm
a boy,
usually the only girl Ash. That's so nice.
So I think this opening chapter is really cool because how do I describe it? It's a parallel. It's done in alternating sections. So there's like line breaks. For those of you that are watching, you can see it. So there's like a break. And it's the exact same scene, but with different context. So
that's interesting.
It's very cool. So like the main character in this book is an assassin. And
I'm already in.
Yes. So one of the parallel scenes in this opening chapter is her first kill, or at least an important kill. And then, not to get like too graphic or anything, but the parallel is her first, like her losing her virginity, and all of these like parallels between them. So like the first sentence is the boy was beautiful, and that's, you know, the sex one. And then the opening line for the parallel is the man was repugnant. And then every single line is the same format and like it just mirrors itself.
Oh, that is so interesting.
And it's so cool. And I love it. My only issue is that that's not continued for the rest of the book. And so that's like a lack of consistency.
Yeah.
But the first chapter was so good. And I will admit, I struggled with the next 80 or so pages. But then you get to a point where you're like, all right, I am in. Let's do this. It gets really good around page 100. And that first chapter really gets you through those 80 pages because you say to yourself, I know this can be good because that opening chapter was so good.
Yeah. That's
so
funny.
I just thought that was a really interesting way to open it, where you get a lot of insight into her character just because she's essentially equating these two things. And that's really important to her character. So I thought that was a really interesting way to do an opening chapter.
Strong hook.
Yes.
Maybe not strong opening material in general because of the lack of consistency.
Right.
Yeah.
It doesn't give you it. Well, I mean, it's violent, so it gives you insight to that aspect of the book. But
it doesn't give you insight into the format of the rest of the book, or like the narration for the rest of the book. Yeah.
And that's my only issue with it. But otherwise, I did like it a lot. So I guess I would recommend this. But it's kind of like, it is a young adult book. The character is 16, but it has the vibe of an adult book because it's so graphic.
Yeah.
And it's essentially adult Divergent. and not with the factions, but just the whole training montage kind of that Triss goes through with Dauntless is essentially what's going on, except assassin school.
Oh my gosh. Interesting.
So, if you're into that, strong first chapter. I would definitely recommend reading it for that alone.
Yeah.
So
interesting.
Yeah.
Do you have any other first chapter things that you love or hate specifically?
I was thinking about the Scarlet Pimpernell opening chapter that you did for the podcast, because that's also different in format from the rest of the book.
It is.
But I think it really works in that one because it sets up the mystery, I guess,
is
of
that
the
a
title
first chapter or a prologue?
I think it was a first chapter. I don't have it
See,
with me.
I would have, if I were, what is that, Baroness Orsi, right, wrote that.
Mhm.
I think I would have made that a prologue because
Right.
it's super, because it's information you want before you start the story, but
Mhm.
it's not in the same narrative style. I do think if you're like, I have to give this information to my readers somehow, but there's no way to, like, I can't seem to blend the narrative style. I think that's where prologues can be useful, as long as the prologue still has a really strong hook and a
Right.
unique and engaging narration style to itself. Then
Mhm.
maybe that's when you want a prologue, and I think that could be a prologue. And but then, yeah, from the first chapter, you want to use the same narrative style, unless you're switching perspectives. You can kind of maybe toy with that a little bit if you're like from one character to another,
Right.
which I also think if you're going to do that switching perspective style, I think a prologue is a good idea to like bring it all together.
Right. To not look like you change your mind halfway through. Like,
Yes.
this was on purpose.
Yeah, exactly. It looks more intentional.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's see. There were a couple of things I wanted to say about this. So you kind of mentioned it already. Do you think the first chapter is the most important chapter in a book?
I think it's the most important to securing reader engagement.
Okay, because I hear this a lot as writing advice. Agents, publishers, they always say the first chapter is the most important. And this is in part because that's, of course, what readers and agents and publishers are going to see first.
Yeah.
But I think as a reader, the last chapter is the most important because that's what you're left with.
I agree. I think to securing reader engagement, I think first chapter. I think what's most important to the reader, and so in a sense to building a following for your book, if it's a series, you don't want to like piss people off at the end of your book, or you're not going to have people come back to read the next one, is the last chapter. It's also just like I do think as an author you owe something to your readers a little bit. Like if you're going to draw them into this world, like you deserve to give them, you know, like the best escape that you can. I agree. I think first and last chapter are the most important for totally different reasons.
Yeah. What was I going to say? It was about that. So obviously I have not had like super success with this because I do not have a book deal yet. But
which could mean one of 1 million things.
I know.
We'll talk about another episode.
It's so true.
Yeah. And same, by the way.
Yeah. But I guess I think we should just talk about what is your strategy when writing a first chapter. Yeah. Because I suck at it. So I've been working on the same book series like my entire life. And I reworked the opening chapter of this book at least 10 times, like majorly, as opposed to 1 or 2 strong series edits. I started way too early when I first started writing it. And I think the principle is that you're supposed to start right when things start to change. And that's a really hard moment to find.
Yeah, I agree. I think for the first time ever with the book I just started writing, I finally magically nailed like that. I started at the right point in the character story. Yeah. I like started like right when things were changing for them. So, I mean, that felt more like a miracle than an intentional choice. But for me, writing first chapters, I was in this really bad cycle where I would just rewrite and rewrite and rewrite and rewrite and rewrite. And so then the narrative style of the first chapter was so rewritten, it didn't match any of the rest. And then my head was so in it that I was like, I can't even like judge this anymore at this point. So I'm at the point where I write the first chapter and I don't read it again until I'm done writing the book. Because it's so hard to get, it is so important, but if you get stuck, it's going to confuse your narrative style so badly.
You also have to have a good book. It's not just the first chapter.
Yeah, exactly. And you can go back and rewrite, but I think if you write the first chapter and then just don't reread it, do not judge it yet, move on and write the rest of the book. Well, at that point, now you've had this whole book to truly establish your narrative style. So it's going to be like second nature when you go back to edit. You're going to read the first chapter and be like, oh, I'll tweak it here, here, and here. And at least now the narrative style matches. And then from there, I think you do have to play with the hook a little bit more because the first sentence and then the first paragraph need to be super grabby. And that's where you can kind of rewrite a little bit more. But I caution against rewriting. But that might just be for my personality because I get confused. The more I rewrite it, the less I know what to think about it, which is also where having other writer friends help.
Yeah, that would be
Not-
helpful.
yeah, but not just any writing friend. You need to find a writer friend who A, you trust their judgment, and B, they have or are very familiar with that narrative style. Because I've had friends who are writers look at my stuff before and then give me advice that's like, it's not necessarily bad, it's just so not even in the same realm of the type of writing that I'm doing.
Right.
So like if you like have written like, you know, a YA fantasy novel and you want somebody to edit it, I wouldn't go find a writer friend who pretty much only writes like adult romance, because it's not going to be the type of feedback you're looking for.
It is different.
Yeah. And I think that can also help inhibit some of the rewriting so much.
Yes. I definitely have a rewriting problem. And like I said, I reworked that first chapter so many times. And I did notice that I got so focused on it because I wanted to get attention and get the agent, that it eventually became unrecognizable from the rest of the book.
Yeah, that's what happens.
And I had to completely change it. And I was so focused on grabbing attention that I didn't think about, you know, the theme of the book and it fitting in. And then finally, when I started thinking about it as less of a, this is the most important chapter, and more of a, this is the introductory chapter, which of course is true, it flowed better. That's true. So I think sometimes, I think it's good advice that the first chapter is the most important in terms of engagement, but I think it can be limiting. Yeah. And if you find that you're spending all of your time on the opening chapter, you're probably doing it wrong. And you have to read through all of the other scenes, make sure you're editing kind of consistently so that you're not completely changing your style for only one chapter.
I wonder if you're someone who's like prone to getting like really caught up on the first chapter, which is probably most of us. I wonder, here's a hypothesis, you can tell me if you think it's a good idea or not. Like, what if you wrote like a kind of like a fake first chapter, like after you wrote your real first chapter, and you like put it ahead of it?
That is essentially what I ended up doing. I decided, I'm like, don't even look at the file, sit down and pretend like you're writing this for the first time. Yeah. And then I did. And I read it through and I said, yep, this is definitely better. This is definitely it. Yeah. So if you guys are having trouble writing a first chapter, I recommend doing that. Just kind of don't delete anything, but pretend like you have. Just scrap all the ideas you had originally and pretend like you're starting over. Yeah. And all those original themes and what you're trying to say will come out better.
I agree. Or you can kind of go the other way with it. And this is the way I tend to go with it. Is maybe the reason you feel like your first chapter is not strong enough is because, like Karissa was saying, like you haven't started at the point where things change. Maybe you need to start a lot later in the book. So what I do is always open another document and cut and then paste into that. So you don't ever delete material, because you might, even if you don't want to use it later, you might need to refer back to like some information or backstory that was in it. But I have found sometimes like I've deleted like 3 whole chapters.
And then changed your mind.
And then I mean I've definitely done that too. Yeah. But I've like been like, my first chapter sucks, and I've like harped over it so many times for so long, and then I was like, hang on, maybe it's just like maybe I'm just not close enough to where the action starts. And then I deleted 3 chapters, and all of a sudden, bam, that 3rd or 4th chapter, that was a great first chapter. So sometimes it can just be getting closer to the action.
For sure. My original draft of the first book in the series was, eventually I condensed down, I think 10 chapters to that first chapter. It was like I was so far away from that initial point. And also because word count is iffy depending on, how staunchly you want to stick to the guidelines on that one. Yeah. But when I deleted those 10 chapters, I suddenly had all this extra room to add things that I'd been wanting to add. Yeah. And I realized that it really just wasn't important, the stuff that I had deleted. And I kept all the things that mattered, but condensed them down. Yeah. And changed the setting and all of that. And it worked better. So, and
I think this is something that's probably we can do like a whole other episode on. But I think I don't have a solution to this because I'm still really bad at it. But like, you do need exposition in the first chapter, but how do you decide what's most important? Because you don't want it all in the first chapter, because that's not an interesting chapter, but you do have to give some for context. And I've still not mastered that at all.
Okay. So I said I only had 2 books. I think, hold on, I'm going to get another one. I have a book that I think does a really good job of that. Let's see.
She's got these amazing shelves, by the way, everybody. They're like wall to wall beautiful bookshelves, and mine are not. I have one bookshelf and then my books are stacked all over the room. So
Back.
welcome
Okay,
back.
so this is Bone Crier's Moon. I don't know if any of you guys have seen this one
I've seen
around.
that cover around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I really like this author, Catherine Purdy, and it's a duology. And I think this is a great book to read the first chapter if you want to kind of figure out how to integrate world building into a first chapter without completely boring your reader.
Yeah.
Because she just slips in details. It's these 2 girls and they're the main characters, and they're just having a conversation as they are doing, I don't want to spoil it too much, but as they're doing this opening action, and they're talking. And so they, of course, know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
So they don't define things for the reader, but you kind of start to pick up what they're talking about just from the context.
Yeah.
So it doesn't say there's this thing and this is its definition. It just has them talking about it in enough kind of distant detail that you get a sense of what's going on even before it's explained. And I think that can be a good way to do it if you have a conversation between 2 characters that know what's going on. A lot of young adult books will open with a character, and I did this too, a character that is completely new to the world and so doesn't know what's going on, and they use that as kind of the way to give you information. But you can also do it when all the characters are already in the world. You just have to have them talk about it in the right way.
I like that. I think Leigh Bardugo is another good example of I mean, her world building skills are phenomenal. Obviously, like possibly like the best of any like current big YA NA author. But yeah, hers is kind of the same, where like it's context, like contextually you can figure kind of out what the general like vibe of this city is versus that city, and these characters versus those characters, how they dress, how they talk, but it's nothing is spelled out. I think maybe that's the key, is do not spell it out. And I want to say only spell it out when you have to, but I think that's even too gentle. I think do not spell it out ever, which is really hard. But I think contextually is the only good way to deliver exposition without taking your readers out of the story.
You have to decide what details are most important for them to know right away. And be very choosy about them and put those details in the opening chapter. And then sprinkle the rest throughout.
I think so too.
And that it's definitely an art. Practice makes perfect.
I feel like I'm going to become such a better writer for doing this podcast,
right? Now that you kind of think through it, you're like, yeah, that is true.
Like, hey, that is true. I haven't thought about this stuff in that much detail. I don't think I'm quite as intellectual as you are. I think our description for this podcast everywhere is like a
podcast for and by writers, especially who love the epic, the quirky, and the intellectual.
The quirky. See, I'm the quirky, you're the intellectual.
We're both epic, so
exactly. That's so funny.
But it is, I have had a lot of conversations with myself as though I have a podcast about this stuff. So I have thought about it a lot.
I know your Snapchats to me are like a podcast. That's probably really where the idea. See, you planted it in my mind long ago.
You thought it was your idea. It was me. I was making you think it was your idea.
You wanted me to think it was my idea, and then you wanted me to pretend to try and like make you think it was your idea, but this was all really a part of your plan.
See, this is what I'm saying. This is I am in control, Ash.
I should never doubt that. I should have just known.
Yes. Did you have anything? Those were kind of my notes. Did you have anything about first chapters? No,
okay. I think we did a good, I mean, there's always more we can say, but I think we did like a good coverage. You guys feel free to let us know, like, what do you think? Do you guys have any tips? What do you guys think about first chapters? Do you strongly disagree with anything that we said, or do you want to elaborate on it? This is a writing group, everybody. It just has a cooler name than all the other writing groups. So
obviously, let's interact. Join us.
Interact. We want to hear what you have to say. What about, so I think as writers in the writing group, that brings us to our kind of last segment of the episode, which is how's your writing going this week? Do you have any updates, quandaries you want to share?
Well, I have been super, super excited about the podcast, so I didn't write anything. I spent a lot of time thinking about things I want to say on this podcast. And so I didn't write a lot. The week before, I almost said the week ago. I don't think that's a phrase.
The week ago.
The week ago.
I know the week.
before the podcast really started to take form, I'm working on book 2 of my series because, like I said, I already have all 9 written, and I'm trying to figure out how to introduce new cultural elements, if that makes sense. I love world building so much, and I really love in-depth worlds. I love it. I think it's my biggest strength.
It's probably my biggest. I think my dialogue is my biggest strength, and I think my world building is possibly my biggest weakness.
We are the opposite. I struggle with dialogue more than anything else.
So funny.
But I've been adding cultural details to make the world more immersive, and it's hard because I know it's not important for book 1 because book 1 is super introductory, given that it's the first of 9, and a lot of details aren't important in book 1, but in book 2 they become really important. And so I'm trying to figure out, okay, am I giving too much now, or can some of this come in book 3 and 4, or do I need to plant these seeds now? So I've been playing around with that, and I did this whole edit of the entire book, and then I read it through and I'm like, no, I don't like that. So now I have to go back and change it again.
Oh my God, that is so hard.
Which is essentially my life. Every time anyone, my parents, my family, my friends, what have you been doing, Karissa? I have been editing the same books. Yes, those same ones that we talked about 10 years ago. Yeah, those.
Hilarious. I feel like I'm always working on something different. I feel like I probably start like 6 books a year, and I probably finish like 1.5 books.
That's really good. I do have a couple ideas that are kind of marinating, but also we should tell everyone we have nicknames for each other. Are we going to refer to each other?
Absolutely we are, because I was thinking about that. I was like, we missed that in our intro, but you should know, because I'm surprised we haven't slipped into it yet. No. You will hear this.
It will be the last thing you hear, and you will remember, because last chapters are important. Also, there is a bug on my mic. We're going to ignore that. So I am Lewis, aka C.S. Lewis, and Ash over there is Tolkien. AKA
ironically, he is a master of world building.
This is what I was going to say. This is why I thought of it. I'm like, really? I am more like Tolkien in my writing, and you are more like C.S. Lewis. You are the kind of person that would put Santa Claus into a 100%. Fantasy world. And I am the kind that would say, Ash, that's stupid. I would say, you need to have consistency. You need to have a solid world.
I'd be like, Santa belongs here.
No. So in that sense, we're kind of the wrong person. But
we are.
But I am Lewis.
That's how we started. Yeah, but you're the Lewis to my Tolkien. That's how it's always been.
We are not changing it.
She also has another name. I'm not cool enough to have nicknames. And that's something you'll hear me bemoan on the other podcast too, that I don't have any cool nicknames, except for Tolkien's a cool one. But that's it. This one is Karissa also goes by Catherine.
Oh, really? She's my alter ego.
It's not really that Karissa goes by Catherine. It's that Karissa has this dark side that's too dark to refer to as the Karissa that we all know and love. So that's Catherine. I am absolutely 100% certain she is going to make numerous appearances on this podcast. So just know when that dark side comes out, that's Catherine.
I also have some great TikToks about it. So
oh my God, do you really?
If you guys want to be introduced to Catherine, I have some ready.
You know what? If you wanna get a glimpse of Catherine, you can check out the TPBC episode we did with you on Court of Thorns and Roses. You definitely get to see some Catherine in that.
Catherine is really the one manipulating the show. She's also in charge of me, and she just lets me out to play most of the time.
This is getting terrifying. What you're describing is genuinely frightening. And I'm the one with the spooky closet.
I know. See, Catherine hides well. Catherine surrounds herself with bright colors and happiness. And inside she's like, haha, murder.
Oh my God. I'm like, goth spooky vibes. I think Santa belongs in this epic fantasy.
It pretty much sums it up.
Oh God, that's too funny.
So anyway, that is Tolkien. I am Lewis. Tolkien, what have you been working on writing wise?
Well, I am happy to say that I have started writing a new book, which I mentioned, which is only news. I used to be working on stuff all the time, like I said, but then got so many job changes, and then I'm just like, so obsessively productive, and I was so stressed out. And then I started talking to a counselor. Hey, that's nice. So yeah, so that helped me through a bit of a rough period for my brain. And now I'm finally writing again, which is also largely thanks to the fact that I have this new job that's it's nice. It's just nice to like get paid fairly. Yeah, it's
Really?
nice yeah, I don't know if anyone knows this, but it's really nice to not have to be like, do I have enough money to pay for rent and buy groceries? It's really nice to not have that worry. I'm not rolling in the dough by any means, but just having that little bit of stress taken away has been like, the breath of fresh air that I needed. Between that and the podcasts, I think I'm just finally in a place where I can write again, and I started a new book, and I'm 8,000 words in. So,
Yay.
and this is the first time I've used my my free write. It's a typewriter, by the way, that I love, that connects to the cloud and stuff. So it's super fun. I can't get distracted on the internet. Which is, I never really got distracted on the internet from writing, but like I would just like be like, I should research this, and then research it for 6 hours, even though it's unnecessary and I'm writing a fantasy. So I can do whatever I want, really. So it's kind of stopping me from doing that, which is nice. Yeah, so that's what I've been working on. It's also, I can't go back. You can't go backwards in it, so I can't go rewrite my first chapter.
There you go.
Yeah, so I'm really digging it. 8,000 words isn't that much, but I have pitched it now to my mom and to Kendall, and I don't know why. Like, I don't know, because the pitch is the hardest part. If you've written a query letter, you feel it. Like, I don't know what is going on, but not only did I nail like that, like the part of the story I started, I have nailed this pitch. I've been like, here's the setup, here's the characters, here's this and that, and then like literally turn away and go, and then look back. Do you want the twist? I did it the exact same way. I did it to my mom like that. I did it to Kendall like that. And I didn't do this on purpose, but as I was like doing my dramatic turn away and turn back, I was like, I've done this before.
This feels familiar.
And then I got the same reaction every time. I was like, here's the twist. And then I got like a like a genuine one. And I was like, oh, it's a good twist, because you can always tell when you tell like another like writer friend like the twist, and they're like, oh, that's interesting. And you're like, dang it, not enough of a twist. Or maybe I just didn't deliver it right.
I think that's my problem. I hope.
Well, I usually don't deliver. It's like trying to like describe the book that you've written to somebody is like the hardest thing in the whole world.
Gosh, it so is.
I don't know. I mean, to be fair, I am giving the twist, so I can't like really use that in like a lot of parts of the query process because it gives away the ending. But first, I'm good at giving away the twist now. Nice. Maybe it's the dramatic turn away and turn back.
Can you tell us anything about it, like genre at least, or?
Yes, I can. So I'm challenging my world building skills with this one. So I'll give you that. There is some. It is a fantasy. I will say there are strong Venetian influences because I am Italian and Irish, but I don't know the Irish side. So the Italians, I've been to Venice many a time. By many a time, I mean like 6 times, maybe.
It's more than me.
Yeah, it was, I mean, that was pretty much the only place we went, because when I would go to visit my family in Italy, we pretty much stayed in their tiny town and didn't go anywhere, which, as anyone who has family who lives in another country knows, like as a kid, everyone's like, oh my God, you're so lucky, you traveled the world. And then what it really is like you flew to your grandparents' house in the other country and you never left. So nice. But we did go to Venice a few times because that was pretty close. So yeah, I will make fun of Italian culture constantly because Italians are terrifying, and I can say that. But Venice is just so cool. It's a city of canals, and I was just like, I've always wanted to set a story there. There might be some mermaid influences in this story, which
Ash is really into mermaids.
I'm really into mermaids. If you don't know, if you're from TPBC, you're like, shut up already. We know. If you're a new TSS listener though, welcome to hell.
Mermaid hell. It's a unique type of hell.
It's a special kind of hell, and where I never stop talking about mermaids in the ocean. And so the thing is though, I don't really write about mermaids because it's really hard to do that without being like really cheesy. I think Ingo by Helen Dunmore is one of the only books I've written that has like mer influences that are like totally unique. The Siren by Akira Cass is another good, that's like a really original Little Mermaid retelling, I do have to say.
Yeah.
But so I don't usually write mermaid stuff. It's too hard to do well. It's always kind of hokey, but I think I found an angle that's really interesting. So I'll give you that.
Yeah, I'm excited.
And
cool.
there's a twist.
And there's a twist.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Well, is there anything else we want to say to our listeners in this episode, this opening episode? I bet this is going to be a little longer than usual, you guys, but
Probably.
Don't worry. Usually
we had to introduce ourselves.
We had a lot of intro stuff, but most of these episodes you can probably expect, I would probably say around 30 to 45 minutes, but we'll see. We might decide we have way more to say than that.
I could probably go on for several years. So
I thought you were going to say hours and then you said years and I was like, oh yeah, me too.
yeah. Wait, what?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's, I mean, yeah, what do you guys think about opening chapters? They're tough.
They're tough.
They're important, but they're not so important that you need to stress overly about them.
Yeah. Hopefully something we said helps you. If it didn't, and I was all just more of a hindrance than a help, I'm sorry.
Hopefully you at least enjoyed hearing our voices.
Yeah. I think we have nice voices. Actually, here's the thing too. I was like, you know what? I'm going to fall in love with podcasts and I have no context for whether or not I have an annoying voice. I genuinely don't know. Thank you.
I listen to the book podcast and it's great. I will admit sometimes if I listen to several in a row, I start to think, you know how sometimes when you get really immersed in something, your inner voice changes. I start to think in Kendall's voice.
What? Oh, I can't wait to tell her that.
I'm not sure if it's weird or not, but that definitely happens.
Has like the most sweet, soothing voice. She has a really
good
nice voice. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And she doesn't
you also
does.
have a good voice.
I think I get like, here's the thing is like, thanks, Kat, just jumped up behind me. I don't know. I can get like kind of gravelly, I think, which I don't
I think that can be good though.
I think it's part of it is my humor. I just, my voice changes a lot with my humor. So whoops. Right. I can sound like a man or a pterodactyl and or a smoker. And those are my options. So
I mean, you do them well. Doesn't matter that it's the low range.
I do them well. That's right.
Yeah.
I used to be a soprano somehow. I was singing in the car the other day, like Zooey Deschanel level alto. And I was like, I guess I have a deep voice now. I didn't think I did. I was telling Ash this eventually earlier.
It's late. I have discovered lately that I really like men with deep voices.
Oh my God.
I love Geralt of Rivia from The Witcher.
Well, who doesn't?
Every time he speaks, I'm just like, dude, keep talking. And I also really like this guy, Jeff Castellucci, I think is how you would say it. He's the bass from Voice Play, the a cappella group. Oh my gosh. I love him. He's married, which is unfortunate for me, but he has a lovely voice and he does not look like he would have a low voice.
Yeah, I think you sent me a picture of him and I was like, yeah, I'm definitely surprised. Javi, I met on Match when he was overseas and I didn't know he was still overseas with the military. Fun move, by the way, guys. Anyways, it all turned out well. But he was embarrassed because he didn't want to like freak me out. And he thought he was coming back and then he had a while left over there. But anyways, so I remember our first phone call. I was thinking, God, I really like this guy. I really like our conversations we've been having. This is our first phone call. And I was like, it's going to be a deal breaker if he's got a really weird ass voice. And then he didn't. It was totally normal. He's so funny. He's like kind of like, I mean, he's in the infantry. So there's that, which is already very strong speaking characteristics. And then he kind of speaks kind of ghetto but also kind of surfer.
Yep.
But also he's from Texas and there are certain things that we all say that other people don't say. So it's just like the weirdest combo, but his like the level of his voice, like the tenor or timbre, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, it's nice. It's good. Yeah. It's important, I guess.
But anyway, my point is not that you have a man's voice, but that low voices can be good. So just to clarify, I was not insulting your voice. I was trying to compliment you.
No, I wasn't insulted. Listeners, what do you think? Do you think do you think I have where on the scale, like level of like Zooey Deschanel to Kristen Chenoweth? Where do I land? I just want to know because I hear myself in editing so much I've lost all context.
Right. Is this normal? Is this weird?
Yeah. I don't know. So I think that's all we've got for you guys this episode. Please follow us at the Scripturient Society. We are on Instagram and TikTok.
My
And we do a lot
TikToks
of
are
fun stuff.
hilarious. Also, Ash's are, but mine are
Also,
new.
Ashes are good. They're good, but
they're all good. You should definitely follow us.
Karissa has put so much work into this TikTok.
I did.
Please go check it out. Of course, you guys can also check out our Patreon, which we're working on. We're going to start the writers group now. Hopefully we'll do some weekly check-ins with you guys and then put some more fun stuff up there soon. If there's anything you guys want to see specifically on Patreon, please let us know. Any kind of exclusive content, behind the scenes, special episodes. We are open to ideas. And I think same if you guys have something you really want us to talk about in an episode, just reach out. You can DM us.
And then don't feel weird if you're an introvert. We will not pressure you into social interactions.
We won't.
You can just comment. You can get as involved as you want.
We won't harass you.
Yep. You're saying introverts.
Yennefer, my cat, is behind me, and her eyes in the camera are glowing.
Is that Yennefer?
Yeah. Scary. Yeah. Oh, and she looked away.
Just like, stop pointing me out, Ash.
She's very considerate. I probably hurt her feelings. Flora couldn't care less, and I don't know where she is. She's somewhere. She's like how I look up.
Yeah, somewhere in the closet. Oh, okay. So you're going to enjoy this, and I'm going to try and do it really fast. There was this video of a football game. I don't know if you saw this. A cat was up like in the rafters, and they caught it with the American flag.
I saw it.
I love that story.
Hobby is so good. Big old, my giant scary infantry husband is like, kitties. And he was like,
it was great.
Like so stressed out the whole time. And he definitely called me into the other room and was like, you have to look at this.
It was great.
It's a happy ending.
Yes, for sure. But yeah, I think that's it.
Yeah. All right. Well, awesome. We've got our new sign-off line to try. Yep. You guys let us know what you think about it. Until
Are we
next
splitting
week, I think so. Do you want to do that? Do you want to take the first half or the second half?
I'll take the first half.
All right.
So until next week, keep writing.
And we'll see you on the next page. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.